70s.
Take one. That's my clacker.
You watch my clacker.
All right, hey, welcome back to the Elvis Workshop. You know what? I went 2 months without making a video. Now I've made 3 in 3 days or 4 days or something like that. Anyway, what we wanted to do today is talk about our favorite movies or / movie soundtracks, kind of like a combo of the two. But I want to do a little bit of housekeeping first. One is I've had a lot of comments about the Aloha video, and some people have asked me which is the best quality picture of the Aloha that you can get. And we are in agreement that it's this one here. Not the white box set, but this one. Is there glare on it? Turn it a little bit. There you go. I'll show a closer picture of it.
How's that?
That's perfect. So if you want the best picture quality, it should be the new Legacy box set. Unfortunately, it's not. This is the one that you want to get. That's the one. Okay. So next is
Something on the floor.
Yes. Next here, Adam. Next. We talked about going out with Stump last night. We had a great time. I had a CD here that I forgot to have him sign last time I was here. Got it done. I'll show you a close-up of that as well. I'm not going to throw that one down. And then the last thing before we get started here is I got today in the mail the How Great Thou Art FTD box set. So I'm just going to pop it open. Go ahead. So I got Warren here with me.
He's going to pop it open because, you know, you got to play these things.
Of course.
That's why you pay all this money for them.
That's exactly right. I don't buy it to have somebody else listen to it after I die. So there goes the shrink.
Or when I back the rider truck up to the house.
So I'm just opening this now. This is the brand new How Great Thou Art sessions. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but there's the booklet, and it's the typical 4 or 5 panel box set with the 5 CDs. Exactly what you'd expect. The running theme that you see with all the other ones. Yep. Very nice. There's the booklet. Anyway, I'll listen to this and then I'll maybe have something to talk about it on a later date. That's really not what today's video is about, but since it came in the mail, I wanted to talk about it. So I've got Warren here with me. He lives in the Seattle area, but he's an Australian Elvis fan. And then I have Marty over here. Martin, that's also an Elvis fan from Australia. So we're making a special video today. So we're out of the Elvis Workshop because we need a little bit more room to make this video. Anyway.
Because we're all bigger than we should be.
That's right. We're big stars. Anyway, so I'm going to try to kick this off and hopefully it goes the right way that we have it planned. We talked about what should we do? Our favorite movies, our favorite soundtracks, something like that. So it's kind of a mashup of a little bit of everything. So what we did is we picked a couple each that we liked and we're going to represent it here with some vinyl. Yeah, I think we all have vinyl.
Yep.
So basically just say our favorite ones just for content and then talk about why it's our favorites. So I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna do a non-movie soundtrack. This is Tickle Me. The songs, they were so cheap that they didn't want to spend the money on a recording session, so they had songs that were just shelved that they put into the movie and made into movie songs. They weren't actually legit movie songs, but then they got turned into it. So one is the artwork on this thing is fantastic, just the soundtrack here for Tickle Me. But the reason that I love Tickle Me so much is Jocelyn Lane. That was his co-star. Oh man, smoking. She is the best. She is to me one of his most attractive
and also a Playboy playmate.
Yes, Jocelyn Lane had it going on. But the thing is when I was a kid and I watched this movie, I always thought it was kind of silly and kind of dumb, to be honest with you. But somebody told me something once about this movie, and it's always stuck with me, and it's changed my opinion about the movie. It's like watching a live-action Scooby-Doo. So if you ever watched the Scooby-Doo cartoon, Tickle Me is very much a live-action Scooby-Doo cartoon. If you go back and watch this movie with that in mind, you will change your opinion on this movie. I love it, love it, love it.
Especially the scenes in the ghost town. That's where it picks that.
And then they got the villains with the masks on, and they've got gold hidden in the walls and all that stuff.
And of all the movies that Elvis made in the 60s, he name-checked a few of them in interviews, like that July 72 interview for Elvis on Tour with the producers.
Yeah.
He actually name-checked Tickle Me as being, fun entertainment. So that's one of the rare 60s movies that he actually
If you don't take it seriously and just take it as goofy entertainment, it's actually a lot of fun. Yeah. It's a really goofy, silly movie, and Jocelyn Lane knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, apparently Elvis is in the movie too.
Elvis, the scene, one of the scenes that's great is Elvis is walking with the saddle on and he sees Jocelyn Lane.
Yeah.
And he bumps into the table, and it's like, you can't fake this. He bumps into the table, the whole table tilts like this, and he bounces with
Yeah.
the saddle
Yeah.
and spins around and doesn't fall.
Yeah.
And they kept that in the movie. And
Yeah.
every time I see that, I always think, wow, what a shot that was. And
Yeah.
they kept it. So
Yeah.
that was awesome.
And the shot just before that happened has been on pause on my video.
Yes,
screen
mine too.
forever.
My next one, and again, excellent job by FTD with the artwork, is Roustabout. Roustabout is a very underrated movie. I really, really like it. Elvis actually puts in a great acting job. The movie actually has somewhat of a plot, and as opposed to a lot of the other ones.
And he has wheels on his heels.
He does have
And how
wheels
can
on
you
his
go
heels,
past
yeah.
that?
And the soundtrack
Yeah.
itself is actually loaded with really good songs. So that was my second. Now I think we kind of agreed to do 2, but I'm going to do 3. I don't know how many of these guys did, but
We're probably going to do 3.
so what we're going to do
or
is do a
4.
handoff here. So this is King Creole. Obviously, the 4 movies in the 50s always get heavy consideration.
Yeah.
I like this because it actually had a legit plot and legit acting and great actors. Walter Matthau is brilliant in the role, the soundtrack is really good. It's just enjoyable all the way around. So we actually filmed a video about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, going over every movie, but we ended up deleting it.
Yes, we kind of skipped
We
one.
forgot a movie. We always going to say that, but I didn't want to publish it and look stupid. So we just deleted it. But at the end, both of us agreed that both of our favorite movie at the end of the day was King Creole. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to Warren, and he can do his bit.
So yeah, this movie obviously stands on its own. It had a great starting with Howard Robbins' book, A Stone for Danny Fisher, which gave rise to a good script. The script was originally planned to be a vehicle for James Dean, but he passed away. He was going to actually follow the book closer, where he would be a boxer, and they adapted it because obviously Elvis at that time wasn't a boxer until about 6 more movies. So, but the soundtrack on this is fantastic. You know, it's got the New Orleans sounds, it's got the horns, the jazz comes into it. It really highlights Scotty and Bill and even DJ to some extent, and brings in some saxophone, some horns to help that. And then how can you go wrong with that opening song with Kitty White doing Crawfish, walking down the street, and the two of them going backwards and forwards. Now that didn't appear on their soundtrack because you can't have a duet with my man.
Colonel won't approve.
So we had to wait a while before we actually heard the movie version of it on vinyl or CD or anything like that. But yeah, that's a fantastic one. And then so many others. And then the quality of the cast, like Rick said, Walter Matthau, Carolyn Jones, who became known as Morticia Adams. And but she had a career before that as well. She was actually Academy nominated for one of her films. She was in a film with Vincent Price, and how can you go past that? And then Dolores Hart, who became Mother Dolores, but she had been in Loving You, and this was her second role with Elvis, and she handled herself very well. And then Vic Morrow, who went on to become the actor in Combat, which was a TV show that I grew up watching in Australia. I imagine you probably watched it as well.
Yes, I'm familiar with it, yeah. But it wasn't a favourite, but I know.
It was a Saturday afternoon fodder.
Yeah, it was.
It was like between this movie and that movie, there's an episode of Combat, and you watched it to get to the next movie. So I'm going to hand it off.
I won't mention anything about the movie because these two blokes have pretty much summed it up. But I'll just mention quickly what I think of the soundtrack. And I think, aside from possibly or definitely Steadfast, Loyal and True, and possibly Love a Doll, I think this could have been a standalone non-soundtrack album. And I think the quality is that high. King Creole, obviously, As Long as I Have You, beautiful ballad. Hard-Headed Woman, probably one of the best things he ever did in his entire career. Trouble, of course, the Dixieland Rock, which is, I think, quite underrated. You don't really hear much, many fans talking about it online these days, but Crawfish, the ballads are beautiful. New Orleans, just, pure Dixieland, jazzy style. I think it's just a fantastic album.
I think we
it's
should
one of the
also
best.
mention Trouble because he reprised
He
that
reprised
song
that.
from Rosswood Park the year before, or
Yeah.
two years
Yeah.
before. So,
Yeah. So,
but yeah,
I love that movie. Anyway, so it's a fantastic album. Whether it's people listen to it as a soundtrack and that's after the movie, or it's just a fantastic album in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 out of 10 for this one.
Oh yeah, for
There you
sure.
go.
Steadfast, loyal, and true, 9.5.
Well, okay.
But I do like
Yeah.
Lover Doll. He's talking
Yeah.
trash about Lover Doll. I actually like that.
It's a cutesy song,
It's a cute
Cool scene in the
and,
movie
but
too.
it is very
But
good.
his voice is just incredible.
It's
I think
perfect.
he's at his peak.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, for
Next
sure.
up, Girls, Girls, Girls.
Next up, I have Girls, Girls, Girls. Now, when I was growing up, this was in high rotation on Channel 9 and Channel 7. The soundtrack is pretty good, like the opening track is fairly good. You got Return to Sender on here.
Coming in loaded.
Coming in Loaded is fantastic.
I love that one.
Watching Red West there beating on that guitar, and then later on the bongos, and it's really quite good. And it's another of the travel movies because it focuses on Hawaii again. The cast is quite good. At first, I wasn't sure about Laura Goodwin, but she's kind of grown on me as I've grown a little bit older. Stella Stevens was very good, and again, we mentioned earlier, Jocelyn Lane was in Playboy, so was Stella. And Stella was from Memphis, so she didn't get along with Elvis. She didn't like him at all, which was kind of odd because most of his female cast members fell in love with him, basically, whether it was physical love or it was just a great friendship. But the movie has a fairly good plot. It has what's the guy who played
Ken Becker,
No, he's not in this one. Oh yes, he is.
briefly.
Kenneth Becker, one of my favorite part-time Elvis cast members.
Oh, he's in 5 Elvis movies, right?
4.
He's in 4.
He makes his 3rd appearance getting beaten up by Elvis in this one.
He's the guy that Elvis beats up in Loving You and knocks into the into
And
the
Jeremy,
jukebox.
what's his name?
From G.I. Blues.
From G.I. Blues.
Yeah.
And both of those guys were in G.I. Blues. And Jeremy, his name escapes me.
Yeah, me too.
He was Elvis's main competition, and Kenneth Becker took his side in that movie. And again, in this one, he is his competition, and Kenneth Becker is also slight competition. He's the blind date for Laura Goodwin. So that was my choice on this one. That was my second one. Jeremy Slate. There it is right there. Stop looking. So there's that one.
Yeah.
And then my final choice, sort of, is not this one. It's this one. It's Follow That Dream. Now, the reason for that is not so much the soundtrack, because there's only 4 songs. But they're really quality songs. Follow That Dream stands on its own. What a Wonderful Life is in there. It's a great song. Angel is probably one of the prettiest and most underrated ballads I think he ever sang. And then there's Not the Marrying Kind. And, if you know the movie, as Adam says, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2. You know all about it. Now, it was filmed in Florida. Tom Petty went along to see it when he was 11 or maybe 15, one of those 2 ages or somewhere in between. And that's what made him pick up a guitar. He saw the girls and he went, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And so we got Tom Petty as a result of this film. It's one of his most overlooked acting performances because he is not playing the angry young man anymore.
He's not the sex symbol guy that's...
He's playing basically a simpleton who comes good. And then there's this wonderful court scene towards the end of it. And it's not, like I kind of use To Kill a Mockingbird, the court scene there, to compare it. But obviously the acting level isn't Gregory Peck. It's also reminiscent of My Cousin Vinny a little bit because it shows up the other side and the underdog gets a win against the corrupt government. So all in all, I love this film. I've been to the filming location many times. I tried to buy it once, but my pockets didn't have enough zeros on the $1 bill that I pulled out.
So I'd like to add too that he paid a visit here a few months ago, and we watched the movie while he was here, and it reminded me of just how good it was. It kind of fades into the background, and you just kind of forget how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Elvis's acting performance in the movie is actually top shelf. It's
really,
if you put his performance in this movie up against the majority of his other movies, it's actually right in the top 5. It's actually really, really, really well done. I think Roustabout, King Creole, Follow That Dream, they're all kind of in the same category to me as far as what he delivers on screen.
And another good cast. You got Arthur O'Connell. You can't go wrong with his character acting. He's very funny in this movie. Anne Helm was very good as Holly. And then you have, oh man, what is her name? I had it just before. Joanna Moore, sorry. Yes. She ended up being Tatum O'Neal's mother, married to Ryan O'Neal at the time, and she did a great performance in this. She was kind of the bad guy, and it was still great. She was a very beautiful woman who had a very tragic and short career, and I just love this film. The gangsters are fantastic. The way he disarms them and disables these contract killers. It always puts a smile on my face, whether it's meant to or not. And that toilet that has too much pressure for Arthur O'Connell every time. And then those twins holding up the candy bar and they're not even. Now they are. So many scenes in this.
There's a funny line in the car when they're driving down the road. It's just the whole movie delivers. It's a really good movie.
It really is. Fantastic movie. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it.
Or if it's been a while, go throw it on again.
It's great. So
I highly recommend the Blu-ray. It's absolutely stunning. So picture quality is amazing.
So I believe you're up next, right?
Yes, so my next one is going to be, let me do this one first, Fun in Acapulco. Now, Rick was really surprised.
Yeah, when he told me this, I thought he was joking.
No.
We still do.
Yeah, so, and I'll concentrate on the music, and I'll say a little bit about the film. But I have to say, even though, these are songs that you wouldn't blare out your car window. Most of them, maybe Bossa Nova.
Yeah, that's about it.
The rest you probably wouldn't blare out your car window. But what I find about these songs is he sings like a bird. His voice is incredible. He seemed like he was really into the music. Like his singing was really good. And if you listen to the outtakes on the FTD set, as you all probably have heard already, he seemed very dedicated to the music. He was really into it, and that's it. That's all I've got to say. No, and the melodies of the songs are very nice. So you got. I mean, if you're not into Spanish sounding trumpets and things like that, it's not going to be your thing. But if you just like melodic music, incredible singing. I think he's really into it. And
I actually just got this record 2-3 days ago. I haven't had a chance to spin it yet, but I'm actually looking forward to it because he does sing so well in these songs, and I'm looking forward to it. So
I mean, standouts are Margarita, which I think he just absolutely vocally nails. El Toro,
No Room to Rumble in a sports car.
All that, that's
But to go with your mention of the Mexican and the horn sound, it's reminiscent of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire. That horn sound that's in this movie. It's one of the other ones that was on high rotation for me too, and I enjoyed it. It's a bit of a clunker in places, but the scenes in the nightclubs are fantastic. And the interaction, the play between him and Raul, who is his manager, and it's like a 4 foot tall Colonel Parker.
Exactly,
it's kind of it's a bit of a sleeper. I wouldn't have chosen it personally.
I didn't,
but but I can see where Martin's coming from on this, because it does deliver as far as Elvis. and he didn't go to Mexico to film it.
Exactly, and I think even Ernst Jorgensen mentions in his fantastic book, A Life in Music, he says you get the feeling that Elvis was just very involved in creating the music for this. He just wasn't sailing through it as if it was just another soundtrack. He was actually working really hard. And for those of you that haven't heard the FTD, the full FTD, there's a fantastic version of Bullfighter Was a Lady with some really interesting lyrics, which I won't repeat here.
We
You're
can't
gonna put a big
repeat
X
here.
rating over your mouth.
Yeah, and and as far as the movie's concerned, you know, all know what it's like. You know, there's some funny bits. It's not top shelf, but it's entertainment. You know, so but I think the soundtrack sort of stands out in the '60s.
Yeah.
What you got next?
Oh, okay. My next one, no, not Kissing Cousins.
Oh,
Roustabout.
we're back to Roustabout again.
Yeah, so I'm not going to talk about the movie because these blokes have already.
Well, he did.
How do
pretty
you
much
knock on a
nailed it.
tent?
How do you knock on a tent?
Exactly.
You know? And you know, what are you, a sex maniac? Or, yeah, so there's a few good lines in the movie.
Hey, stupid.
Hey, stupid! It's a public road.
Share the road.
You know that.
It's a really funny movie. It really is.
The soundtrack, I loved it as a kid. I bought this. My dad bought it for me in 1980, so I was 7 years old. So that was a rough year for me in my family, and there was a lot of loss. And I bought this, or it was bought for me at the end of the year, like Christmas time. So it was hot summer weather in Sydney, and for some reason this soundtrack just resonated with me. It's, you know, I mean, it's not all top shelf stuff. A lot of the songs are really short. Some of Elvis sounds quite bored, but overall it just has a really good feel to it. And it was a very popular album, and it sold very well years after the movie came out. It was one of the albums that I don't think was ever deleted in the catalogue, as far as I know, after it was released. So
About a year ago or so, you can correct me, Warren went on a trip through California and actually found the road that Elvis drives down.
It wasn't lost.
It wasn't lost. Where Elvis drives down on the motorcycle and you see the white fence in the movie, that's actually also seen in the movie Loving You. They use the same section of roads. And so he just recently went and found the spots where the fair was and where the motorcycle rode down the street. So pretty cool. And also really real quick, the album artwork on this is also very nice. It's not just slapped together. It's pretty cool. That's a New Zealand
it's
release.
A New Zealand pressing. It's got the green international label, and it's exactly the same as the Aussie pressing. So this is when I first bought this album. That's exactly what it looked like. So they had a border around, like, you know, there was more to the album, but that's the one that I grew up with. So when I saw the full cover, it looked weird to me. This is. It's just a special soundtrack, and you know.
So if you haven't seen Roustabout in a while, put that on, because Elvis actually does a great job.
He does.
And Barbara Stanwyck does a great in the movie.
She's fantastic.
It's really good. It's actually worth a watch. If you haven't seen it in a while, just throw it on. It's a good movie.
Sue Ann
It's fun.
Langdon steals the show a couple of times.
Yeah,
she is
great in the
wonderful in
movie.
that as
She's really good.
Madame Fifi or something like that.
Madame Mijanu.
Mijanu. I'm sorry.
Fifi.
I have a friend
What
who
the hell's
I have a
going on
friend who
around
has a
He's
hospital,
mixing it up with
and
Paradise Lost.
its name from the 50s was Madame Fifi, so
Madame Fifi.
it sticks in my head.
What do you got next, then, Ray?
A couple more things about that movie. Like we've mentioned before, because I didn't really talk about it much with you. You did most of the talking, but some of the songs, like One Track Heart, and just as Martin said, the soundtrack is really good, but it's Kenneth Becker's last appearance with Elvis. And fortunately for him, he doesn't get beat up.
No, he doesn't get beat
He
up.
delivers the sickle back to Elvis after it's been repaired, after being run off the road.
What does he say? Hey, nice sickle. Is that what he says in the movie? He says something like
that's
nice.
at the beginning. That's the beginning
That's
of
the
the
other
movie.
guys
But
at the tea shop.
Elvis's character Charlie Rogers asks, you know, what they had to do to the bike or what was wrong with it, and Ken Becker just said I was out of gas. That's all he said, and they actually got along in that scene, so they left on good terms. They separated on good terms in the movie business.
So I'll throw back to you again for your last one.
Okay, so I'm just going to briefly mention Kissin' Cousins.
This is exciting.
Yes, this is. Well, I grew up watching this movie in Sydney. It was shown frequently, wasn't it? It was on a lot,
Yeah.
you know. So, you know, it was just one of those movies I loved as a kid, and I don't watch it that often these days. Maybe once every 5 years or something. But you know, I don't mind the soundtrack. There's a lot of crap on there, but there's also some good, you know, catchy tunes.
Well, can I interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
So what I should have done before we started this is the album covers actually come out in multiple different variations, and one of them, the original one, there's no family photo down here on the bottom.
This bit is.
It's missing. It just shows a little cabin and a tree. And after they put it out, they thought, man, this just looks too blank. It just looks too. It needs a little bit more. So they reissued it and they put this family photo on it. So if you're out at the record stores, that's something to look for. If you're looking for different variations, is look for the one without the family photo. That's your first pressing. That's the hardest one to
Because
find.
Elvis on the cover just wasn't enough.
That's right.
Exactly. So they had to.
And in this one, the two co-stars, we have Yvonne Craig, the two female co-stars anyway, Yvonne Craig, who became Batgirl and was also in It Happened at the World's Fair with Elvis briefly as Doris, Dorothy, whatever he called her at the time, because he changed the name, he forgot it. So she is one of my favorite cast members, but the other one, Cynthia Pepper, who has we've actually been able to have functions with her, and we're going to have breakfast with her tomorrow, which is going to be a highlight of the
So that's the
weekend.
big punchline, is that he brought his soundtrack from Australia, or did you pick that
I
up in
bought
Hawaii?
this in Hawaii.
He bought it in Hawaii a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago, and
Yeah.
we're going to have breakfast with her tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
So it'll
be
be
a
my
great
first time meeting her, which
Yeah.
will be a lot of fun.
And have her sign the album for him, and just have a good time. So it kind of runs along with our movie theme. We're going to go to breakfast tomorrow with an Elvis movie co-star.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's very exciting. Last night we caught up with Stump, and tomorrow we'll be catching up with Cynthia Pepper, which
Sure.
is really cool.
We're also going to see Sandy.
And Sandy Miller, yes.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we're going to see
So-
Sandy Miller tomorrow.
Busy day tomorrow.
Yes.
Exciting
So-
stuff. Anyway, that's pretty much what we have. Not tons of content, but we just wanted to have a video while we're all here. And we thought the movies would be a great subject matter. So
Yeah.
thank you for watching, and look out for another video in under 2 months. Right?
Right. You might see one a little bit sooner than that, because we've been spitballing something that we might
Yes.
Yes.
try and do after this one. But
Yes.
this will come out first, and then there'll be a lot of editing after this. So yeah, keep an eye out for.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, all that. I left the freaking hound dog in the other room, so we'll have to do that next
He's
time.
just
right?
gonna have to shake me.
He's gonna shake him. All right, we'll see y'all later. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.